everyone. So I am here in St. Louis, and today I am interviewing Tiffany Smith, who owns the Tiffany Smith Life Memorial Center in Overland, Missouri. And the reason, out of all of the funeral homes in St. Louis area, I chose to come visit Tiffany's funeral home is because I kept coming back to an article that I found online that Doug Moore had written for the St. Louis Today newspaper. And it talked about, let me read you the headline, guys. African American woman hopes to break down racial barrier in funeral home business. Now, race is a huge discussion right now, just in our society and in the world. And I thought it would be interesting to see where Tiffany's at now, to kind of catch up 5 years after the article was published, and to look at her business and see what she does and what makes her work so special, just in general, not based on race, not based on her being a woman or a first generation funeral director, which is all so awesome. So we're checking out her business today and seeing where she is at 5 years after this article was published by Doug Moore that was in the St. Louis Today. So we're here with Tiffany Smith. The whole reason that I am here is from the article that I've talked about previously. So let's get to know Tiffany a little and how she got into the business. And then when you got the call from Doug to do this article.
Okay.
And then I want to know, fast forward 5 years, where you're at now.
Okay.
So how did you start in the business?
It was actually not a joke, but my grandmother raised all of us cousins and whatnot, and we can't quit school. So I graduated high school at 17. I went right into nursing school, and I got a job across the street at a hospital, and I didn't like it. So my cousin and I were talking about, she was doing hair at a funeral, and she's like, why don't you go and talk to this guy? He does apprenticeships and whatnot. So what we thought we were gonna do was sign up for an apprenticeship, and then I would quit sometime later when I found something that I really, really wanted to do, and that's not what happened.
Yeah, you got
I started there at 19. I started apprenticeship at 19, and I've been working in the business ever since. Like I've never had a different job.
It wasn't just the stepping stone, it was the stone.
It was the stone. We thought, well, we'll do this, and then she'll be, satisfied. Because kids switch careers, right?
Yeah.
So that was our logic, but no.
Where did your cousin end up?
She is now working in the school district. She
Okay.
got her bachelor's degree and moved on to, working in the school district. But me, I'm still in the funeral. So.
And so this whole story came about 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And Doug called you because you had bought this funeral home in 2013.
Right.
The Tiffany Smith
Life Memorial Center.
Memorial Center in Overland.
Right.
And to him, that was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
He saw this, and to several people, it was a big deal that you
Bigger than I
bought
thought,
this place.
But, yeah.
So tell me what that phone conversation was like.
I just wanted to know about, me moving to Overland, what I thought about it. They wanted to know if they'd do a story on me moving here with it not being a predominantly African-American neighborhood, and how we were basically planning not to survive, but how are you going to make your business grow and go.
Did you see it as a racial, like, I'm a black woman coming into a white neighborhood at all?
No, I did not. We saw a beautiful building that we knew we could help people from, and we pursued it. That's it. It had nothing we didn't take into account, not one time, the race of people that we would be surrounded by, if you will. We just saw a wonderful property and we purchased it.
Because St. Louis is pretty divided still in its demographics.
Even our funeral homes, they're in the neighborhoods by which they serve. So me being here, and there are a couple of other funeral homes, and I do mean just one or two, that, service mixed race of people. And that's what we have, unfortunately.
So 5 years later, is this area still predominantly one race, or is it a little more mixed than it was before?
No, it's very mixed. And it wasn't just in the last 5 years. It's been mixed for a while, but it is very, mixed race neighborhood. So, yeah.
So that's maybe why that phone call was a little...
To me, odd, but I guess because that wasn't my focus at all in the beginning. So to receive the phone call was kind of like, okay, well.
But it was a great moment to highlight.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a first generation female. You happen to be Black.
Just happen to be Black, yeah.
So why not throw that in the story?
Exactly.
But it was kind of a great moment to highlight what you were doing.
Right.
No race involved. It was a great story just to talk about you going into the business, first generation, nobody handing a business over to you.
No.
You just saying, I'm going to go into this business, which has been predominantly male driven for many years and has now become very female coming up into the business. So that was kind of a cooler point of the story that was undershadowed by it. So how do you feel in that aspect with the business now? Like, do you see yourself paving this way, or just you're doing your thing?
That's it. Like, I've always just been like doing the work that the Lord put out for me to do. I've never seen it in a way of I'm blazing a trail or, she's a Black woman, and I get that a lot, and I understand why. People may be kind of excited, I guess, about that. But it has just never been about that. So I guess I never looked into, let me really see why they are. I see, on the surface why, but I've never kind of gone into it. Yeah.
I think that's why I kind of like you a lot, because I get the female question, I think, a lot. And I'm always like, I'm not trying to be the best female anything.
Right.
I'm just trying to be me and the best me.
Right.
As a funeral director, I don't need to be in a
bubble.
Category.
Yeah.
I
tell people
director.
all the time, like, I'm no different than a nurse. I mean, think about the what your nurse administers to you, the bedside manner. I think people see maybe the lifting. They think it's a lot of lifting. But we're trained to lift and move, and we always obviously move with a team. So when you move in a hospital, you move in a team. So you see what I'm saying? There's no difference, but I think we have that in our minds that, it's a male-oriented job, and it's
I think originally
really
it was originally.
It was,
and
yes.
But there's been a lot of very strong, amazing women in the beginning. They just haven't been focused on as much. So
that's true.
I know in the article too, one of the things you said was this isn't a racial thing, it's a tradition thing.
Right. I think a lot of people, they don't know that they can reach out. This is just what we've done, and this is what we continue to do. I don't think it's all prejudice. Some of it is, but the majority is not. I don't think so. I think it's just people not knowing that it's okay to walk through the door and ask questions and, gain information from someone else. So that's what, I've really kind of honed in on, is making sure people feel comfortable, and just coming through the door even. Because some people have come in and they kind of scurry off because this funeral home's been here for so long and it was predominantly white owned. So moving forward, they come in and that fear, I think, comes in them of, can we do this?
Something different.
Are we supposed to use an African American funeral home? Or, so I had a lot of people call even after that because they didn't know. I had one lady call me and she said, I'm just apologizing because I didn't know. And we talked a while, but
Wow.
yeah, I got a lot of calls behind, and I wasn't expecting that either. I really wasn't expecting it. But a lot of people said they just didn't know. A lady said, I've been going to funerals. Obviously, she's a little lady. And she said, I've been going to funerals obviously all my life, and I never thought about there's no black name on the marquee. There's never, when you go in and everybody's name is there.
Yeah.
She's like, I never even thought about, we don't bury out of the same funeral homes. And we don't typically.
Well, and I think
So.
even with religion, like in our area, we have a
It's very
Polish
segregated.
funeral home, and you have a Catholic funeral home, or you have a German funeral home, and so it's not just race that divides there was a funeral home in a community, and that community was maybe settled or developed by people of a certain race, religion,
Right.
whatever, and it's been how it's been for so long, like you said, tradition.
It
And
comes down to tradition, a
go
lot
to
of it.
one place, but I think now though with costs and things, you don't go to your local funeral home anymore.
True.
You go to maybe some place that's maybe more affordable, or some place that other people have recommended because of affordability or whatever the reason. So I think people are branching out more
Right.
and more. And I know you've talked about advertising, and you don't really advertise, it's word of mouth.
Right.
And that's the best way to have new people come in to care for, is that, hey, I got the coolest blanket after I was served
I
by
wanted to talk
Tiffany
about their
Smith
blanket.
Funeral Home. And those are the things that you're pouring into the families you serve that are going to make other people come in, regardless of
Yeah.
what
Yes.
has been tradition, that you're building a new tradition based on just what you do to care for families.
Right. Exactly. And that's exactly what we wanted it to be. What you're looking for in a funeral, let us provide that, and not based on who we are in that regard,
Yeah.
to be shut out or taken in only by way of race or whatnot. So.
I know you've talked about too, you really like the full circle of care,
Yes, I do.
that you guys are doing just such a broad range, you and your family, because it's a family, truly.
Yes.
Your son wants to come up in this now, and
Yes.
you and your husband work together here, and between headstones and t-shirts or masks that have the person's name, or what is your next dream of, where do you want to expand out to?
My next dream is total care in one facility. That has been my prayer, that the Lord grant us the space and opportunity, because right now I'm going to people. I'm interacting with them. I'm going to their homes. We're interacting. My family and I took another family to the pumpkin patch this weekend, and we spent the weekend together. So I was even thinking that on the way home, because they needed it. They so needed it, just from the looks on their faces and whatnot. They needed it. And I was just praying that even on the way home, like, how do I gather them to me so that I can help more people instead of me trying to go to them individually. So that is what our next vision is to create a center, a space where people can come and mourn and be together, not just with us, our family, but with each other, sharing their experiences. Sometimes it helps to talk, to just say, I'm having sleepless nights, and not feel bad about it, because I think sometimes the world wants you to get back at it, and they don't know where and how you're suffering, and you do have to get back at it. I have some families where we have to plan the funeral around their work schedule. They can't get off. So, you've got to go back out into regular life, like nothing just happened and you just lost your best friend, 30 years of your life. And now people are, they want you to giddy up, keep going. So that's our next vision, is to grow from here to a place vast enough, I want to say, that we can gather people to us and care for them, instead of not having to go to them, but instead of going to them one at a time, they can gather to us.
So looking at your business now, I know when you started it was just you, and you had taken in an apprentice, and your husband was working a little bit. Where is your growth now? Like, what is
Staff-wise?
what's your...
It's really just still us. I hire in, trade workers if I need them. But my husband was full-time military, and he's retired. So he's here now and more grafted in the business. My kids are older, so they're here. And then my son wants to be an embalmer, funeral director. So it's like taking out time to teach someone else that I don't know, but I have to teach him anyway. So being able to have that, flexibility with him. But as far as like staffing is concerned, it's still pretty much us.
Do you have part-timers that work visitations or the
Yeah,
parking
that's what
lot
I mean by
and
like,
stuff?
trade work and whatnot. So if they come in, have people work visitations and whatnot, take that load off. But on the professional side, yes, we take care of it all.
Nice. Do you have a diverse staff when you pull in trade, or is it more?
No, it's not. And I think it's part of that too. Like some people are even afraid to even ask. Like I don't even get calls for people to, come and
work.
Yeah. So
That is
I think they
interesting.
don't think that they can, or
Yeah.
they don't try even. And it's like, I understand why. But we got to get over it. We got to get over that hump.
Tiffany says, come on,
Let's get
people.
over the hump. Let's engage.
Now, where are you at volume-wise now?
Volume-wise, we probably do about 40 services a year.
Okay.
And when we started, it was probably around 12. But it'll be well over 40 this year, with the pandemic and whatnot going on. But it was, at first, it was like, because that's like what, about one a month.
Yeah.
And then with the trade work, that would always keep us busy. But like we were talking earlier about, the vision of total care, it absorbs all of our time. So having, up to 40 is a lot. When you look at all that I'm going to do for a family and with the family, it's very time consuming.
Yeah, if you had 300 calls a year,
it'd be no
you're not
way
going
that
to the
I could
pumpkin
do,
patch.
you're
You're
not
not
on the way to
going and
pumpkin patch.
having lunch with a family at their house when they want you over.
You're not at the barbecue. You're not.
Well, and your
So-
grandma, I know in the article said your grandma makes a pound cake for every family
Every
you
family,
serve.
every
and so
family.
she would be baking her full head off if she had to make 300 pound cakes a
300
year.
pounds. She probably makes about 300 pound cakes. But yeah, she makes pound cakes for all of our families, yes.
I think that's the cutest thing.
And they love them. Like I get cards in the mail. I can show you my board. I get cards in the mail and you rip it open like, oh, this is from Mrs. So-and-so. And I get to reading and I get into it and it's like, this is for my grandmother. This card is not for me. It's all about mom's cake. But people love her cakes. They love my mom, period. So when I can bring a little piece of that to them and their homemade cakes, and she is a granny, and it just, all of it just kind of helps at that time, But I get calls and letters all the time about mom's cakes, granny cakes.
Does she give out her recipe?
No.
That's her grandma.
She tried to get me to learn because of the fact that the families, they ask about the cakes more than the blankets, Do we get a cake too, this time? But she asked me to learn. She's like, what are you going to do when I'm gone? I'm like, well, that'll be the last cake. But I don't think I could make one. I'm like, Mom, it'll be tears in people's cakes. And so no, I think, when she passes away, it will end. That tradition will end. And prayerfully, we'll pick up something else to help families out to heal.
So as we were talking with Tiffany inside about that full service care that they like to do, we came out here to the garage where her and her husband are engraving a headstone with their machine that they have gotten so that they can do a lot of really personalized items, engraving urns, engraving tissue boxes, all sorts of things, memorial keepsake pieces for families. So we're gonna check out the headstone that they are engraving. This is a huge thank you to Tiffany Smith and her whole family for bringing me in. having a really good, candid conversation with me about her business, her family, some of the race discussion that is going on and has gone on, and what was brought up to her 5 years ago about her entering this business. Huge kudos to her for being a first generation and diving in and buying her own business and running it the way that she feels compelled to in her heart. She's doing such a great community service with her gifts of caring and giving to every family that comes through here, and with Grandma's pound cake. So I'm really blessed to have gotten to spend some time with her and meet her mentors along the way. It's been just an amazing experience getting to visit her here. So thanks for joining me on this adventure, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.